I am not an expert. The views and opinions expressed in this video are based on my own beliefs and experiences for entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as advice. Proceed at your own risk, not intended for children. Hey everybody, welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Amy. This is The Shadowed Path, and on this channel we talk about witchcraft and sorcery from my perspective, as well as whatever else I feel like talking about. And today we're continuing with my elemental magic series, and this is part 2 of a 2-part question that was asked. Is elemental magic physical or energetic? And how does one summon or communicate or like actually use that energy? So in the first part, I talked about whether or not it was physical or just energetic. If you haven't watched that yet, I suggest doing that before you continue with this part. I will link it somewhere. Everything I talk about will definitely also be linked in the description, so go down there. And then if you're interested in watching my other elemental videos, check out my elemental video playlist as well. So today we're going to talk about how I imbue my energy with elemental magic, and hopefully in explaining that to you, it will help you understand better how to do so yourself. Not everybody will want to use the same techniques that I use, and not everybody interacts with magic the same way that I do, or even senses it the same way that I do. So hopefully this will help you find a jumping off point, but it might work differently for you, and I just wanted to let you know that up front. There is nothing wrong with that. It's totally fine and okay. We are unique for a reason. There are as many ways to practice magic as there are people in the world. So bear in mind that your experience could be very different from mine. It could be very similar to mine, and it's all okay. So when I want to imbue my energy with elemental magic, I'm a very visual person, and I am also an empath. So for me, it's all about feeling things. So like for me, like feeling things and seeing things, it's interesting because I am a medium and I'm a seer of sorts. My physical vision is not good. And I don't know, that's kind of, those things kind of go along together, like in like ancient myths and things, like seers and oracles often had terrible vision or no vision. I am a sighted person. I just have a pretty gnarly prescription. So that does sort of end up helping me in a lot of ways, because I think for me it takes less, how do I put this? When I'm visualizing energy, when I'm sort of seeing it in the real world, it doesn't look the same way that like a pillow or a sofa would, you know, or my actual like fingers, I can like see them. They're like lines and pores and wrinkles and things. But it's almost like an overlay on top of the real world, like a haze or fog, but in shape and form. So it's not like my whole world is hazed and fogged over, not in this instance anyways, but it's sort of like an essence has materialized over like and in the real world for me. And I don't know, maybe like not having the clearest vision has made it easier for me to be able to see things that would normally be difficult for people to see if they're looking at the harsh, sharp edges and corners in the world. I don't know, that's just my own like personal thing. It's not even really a theory. I don't even know if it matters. I like to know how things work, but anyway. For me, my most prominent element, the element that I practice with the most, my primary element, if you will, is shadow. I know, shocker. When I want to make sure that my energy is properly shadowed or imbued with shadow, I will, with my like third eye, in my mind's eye, with my imagination, whatever, I will visualize that the energy that I'm summoning for whatever I'm doing is quite dark. So it'll look sort of like the energy that like sort of like the smoke from incense, but very dark. If any of y'all have played the video game Kingdom Hearts, I'm very attached to it. It's been my favorite series for since it came out, since I was quite young. Was it like 22 years or something at this point? Oh gosh. Okay. Let's not date ourselves. Whatever. The premise of the video game is that there are
there is darkness in everyone's hearts, and the darkness can materialize into little creatures made out of darkness, and the creatures are called heartless. And for me, the way that I interact with my element is actually a lot like that, and it's one of the, I know it sounds like ridiculous, but it's like one of the best ways for me to explain to somebody, like with a visual example. Maybe I'll try and like, I don't, Kingdom Hearts is in partnership with Disney, it's Square Enix and Disney. I don't know if I can like put like illustrations or clips or whatever from the games, but if I can, then there will be one here. Kind of showing you what like the basic little like shadow creatures look like. So for me, I sort of pull it out of my heart, I pull it out of my surroundings, and it's very difficult to explain because it is the same way that you would summon energy for anything. If you're a healer or Reiki practitioner of some kind, or if you are someone who like, if you know how to charge candles with your energy, if you're already a practitioner and you know how to utilize energy manipulation. If you don't know how to utilize energy manipulation, I have a video on this. It's one of my oldest videos. It's so cringy, but it's one of the videos that people watch the most, honestly. And I will put a link to that somewhere and also in the description. Whatever device you're on, the description and things live different places. And it changes all the time. Thanks, YouTube. When you are working with energy, it can appear as just sort of like nothing. It can function as sort of like a clearish, just pure energy type of substance. But when you are an elemental practitioner, it will either sort of automatically shift into energy that is imbued with the element, but you can also focus on forcing that. So it's sort of like a practice in meditation. I would suggest creating a pool of energy in your hand, follow the same exercise that is in that other video, and then once you've got it, if it doesn't already have sort of a color or a feeling of whatever your primary element is, focus on imbuing that into it. One way that I like to do it, or I liked to do it before it was, before it was more automatic for me, now it's pretty automatic, but what I liked to do when I was quite a bit younger is I would sort of make sure that my feet or my butt or something were like on the ground so that I could like sort of ground myself, or the floor or whatever. And I would sort of visualize shadows being drawn away from the world and into my body, and then flowing into the energy that I was outputting from my hand. And I would just practice that, and it would sort of change its shape and behavior and color, you know, based on what I could see with my third eye. It would be the sort of energy that was just a little bit darker, very nighttime, very soothing for me, because it's my personal element. And then that would help me also to communicate with the physical elements. So I often would have practiced at night. I lived in a very different area, and please don't go outside at night if it's not safe for you to do so in your area. But I would go into like a park or my yard where there were very defined, like lots of darkness, but also lights from like street lights and stuff. So there was like shadow and light. And I would go and I would either sit at the edge of the shadow or sit in the shadow, stand in the shadow, and pull the energy from the darkness into myself. Sort of the same way you would ground yourself and connect to ley lines. It was like that, but for me, I was connecting with the element of shadow, and because it was nighttime, there was a lot of it. So it was very soothing, it was very calming, it was very dark, and then what I would do from there is I would try to manipulate it. I would either try to manipulate it in my hand, or I would focus on trying to make the shadows around me darker or thicker or thinner, or recede or come back. I would also focus on summoning little like shadow minions, and I'll probably talk about that in a separate video, because this is really supposed to be more about like generally how to use your own element, but shadow's the one that I work with, and so that's my example that I have. What are you doing, Luna? Sit. Sit. Good girl. Stop it. Oh my goodness. Well, we've been interrupted. You're a good girl, Luna. Lilith would like to take a nap, so we need to let her sleep. Thank you. Thank you for that little shower of fluff. What was I talking about? Oh, my ADHD symptoms have been nuts lately, folks, and I'm medicated. I'm medicated, and I've been struggling. And if any of you have ADHD or like other mental health like illnesses, you'll know, like, sometimes your best is gonna be way better on one day than it is on another day, and I've just been having a rough few months. So I don't know what I was talking about. I hope that that made sense. Basically, whatever your element is, you can summon. It's a part of you, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So yes, physically, fire, the earth, you know, dirt, plants, animals, fires, candles and fireplaces, and heat from the sun, lights and shadows, and, you know, water are all real physical things, and you can interact with them, and they will help to feed and replenish your own energy. But because a lot of us have a primary element, whatever your primary element is, it is a part of you. So it's already in your energy. You just have to kind of like coax it out. And I mean, not everybody has to coax it out, but if you know, like, within yourself that your element is, for example, fire, then your energy is going to kind of mimic that. It's going to sort of mimic the fire of the element. Not even mimic it, it is going to be imbued with it. And if you're feeling like that's not the case, then either you might be working with an element that you are not that in tune with, or you could be just struggling to get your energy to come out in the first place. Like, you could have a blockage issue. Or it could just be that you need more practice. Working with energy is a very, very vulnerable thing. It sounds sort of weird, but it's sort of like working with emotions. And often your energy is very tied to your emotions, or it can be, at least for me. So it is like a practice in meditation, and it can be very hard. It can be strenuous. It can take a lot of work, and can take a lot of stopping and starting. And sometimes it's just like you do it for a few minutes, and then you've got to quit for the day and maybe try again tomorrow or later when you're feeling better. One of the key things about working with your element is that it will help you feel more in tune with yourself and your own energy and your own power. It'll help you get stronger as well as a caster. It'll make you a stronger caster. It'll also help you to regenerate your own energy. So if you are, for example, an air element person, and you've got the like element of air in your energy, that is amazing. It's going to have personality characteristics that are, you know, like match with air. It's going to have like, it's going to be, you know, sort of like windy all on its own. But that also means that if you go outside and you stand in the wind, it will help to refresh and rejuvenate your own self and your own energy. That's just a little tip. Just keep that in mind. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully that made sense. If you're not sure how to work with energy in general anyway, definitely check out that that video that I made, you know, a couple years ago. And thank you for hanging out with me today. Stay tuned for more. I know that I've mostly only made elemental videos about, I think, fire, air, and water. Hey, hush. I've mostly made elemental videos about fire and water, and I think I did one about air. So I do need to tackle the subjects of light, shadow, and nature for sure. And there are a bunch of questions in the comments as well, and that's one of the reasons I'm making these videos. I'm not in the comments all the time. I can't do that. I don't have the time or like the mental stability to like be in the comments with you guys. But if you are posting a comment on my video within a couple of hours of me actually like uploading it, I will respond. So I do monitor them for the first couple of hours that I've actually posted, like the day of. And every once in a while I do sort of like scan. I read a lot of them. I'm just not able to respond to them all. So a lot of these videos are going to be due to like gaps in my previous videos, things that I've taught, and other things, like other like topics and questions that have come up as y'all have started these practices and said, hey, I don't understand this, or what happens if this happens. So there are some videos coming that are based on y'all's questions. So it's not pointless asking them. I would love it if you do. And if you made it all the way through this video, please put a sun emoji in the comments section so I know that you made it all the way through, and help to support this channel if you don't mind. It's totally free to subscribe and I'd appreciate it. And if you want to support me monetarily, my patrons on Patreon help to support me and my channel. I was able to buy a camera because of their support and I really appreciate them. Thank you so much to my patrons. Thank you so much to you all for hanging out with me today, and I hope you have a blessed and beautiful day. See you next time.